What's up, and welcome back to Kind of Funny Reactions. This time, we are talking about Loki on Disney Plus, as we will be for every single week going forward for the duration of this series, which so far doesn't have an official amount of episodes, but the talk is 6, I think. And I think based on the run times we're getting on this, a more Falcon and Winter Soldier style show is probably what we can expect. But as always, I am Tim Gettys, joined by the Nitro Rifle, Andy Cortez.
Hello, Tim Gettys. Hello, Nick Scarpino. Hello, Kevin Coelho.
The producer / seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Hello, top of the morning to you.
And just as a voice right now, because he's running in late, Kevin Coelho.
A disembodied voice.
Hey, guys.
Walking Cecil, baby. You always got to do some stuff. But this is Kind of Funny Reactions. Every week, we review all of the latest TV and movie releases. You can get it on youtube.com/kindoffunny, or you can also get it on podcast services. Just search for Kind of Funny Reactions, and we'll be right there for you. If you want to get the show ad-free, you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunny. But if you like ads, this episode's brought to you by MeUndies and Stamps. But let's get right into it. It is the Disney Plus MCU show number 3, Loki episode 1. Andy Cortez, what did you think?
I thought it was cool and neat and sort of throws out a lot of possibilities of what the hell could happen in this universe. I also kind of feel the way Nick feels whenever he watches a prequel, whenever it's like, well, nothing of consequence is going to happen here because we already know what happens in the future. I sort of have the same vibe where I feel like a lot of stuff feels less important because these time people kind of control everything. So like, I don't know, it just feels kind of inconsequential, and I don't like moving and zooming out that far out of like to see the scope of everything. It kind of like, I have like an existential crisis sort of thing, especially with this universe. But I still think it's creative and cool and slick, and it's got just a great style. Owen Wilson is providing that sort of, you know, jovial nature that I need. And I can't wait to see him and Loki just have their bullshit together and find out who this mystery character is. Looks like Loki, but we'll see.
Nick Scarpino.
Yeah, I really like it. I think stylistically it's amazing. I love the music. I don't know who does the music for it, but it's freaking really, really, really good. It's sort of a combination of like Clockwork Orange and Battlestar Galactica. It's so wonky. The style of it is super cool. And I think when Tom Hiddleston, I mean, the bulk of this episode was Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson on camera together, and I think they have great chemistry and they shine. My only criticism is I think it still suffers from what all the other shows suffered from, where a lot of the main characters are great, but some of the other side, like supporting characters, are very TV. And when the scenes are just them, you're like, all right, this is a TV show, which is not necessarily the worst thing in the world. But when you've got 2 film actors or 2 or 3 film actors on camera together, you're like, I really wish this was I started thinking to myself, this would be really cool if it was just a 2.5 hour long movie that came out in theaters and they had just like a way bigger budget for it. But the style of it and the way it's done in that sort of like retro 70s style, like that Logan Run style, kind of works for it not looking as good as it should. So when they look at the city and it kind of almost looks like a matte painting, you're like, I kind of like that. This is kind of the vibe of this thing. But I'm interested in it. I think it's kind of a cool one-off story to tell with Loki. It's kind of like let's give him one more shot at being in the universe and just kind of do a cool side quest story with him.
Ev.
Man, I love this so much. Like, for a little bit, I was like, oh man, they're clowning Loki out. He's kind of a little bitch. They can't do anything. And it only took him like 40 minutes to like figure out how to like get on top of the situation. And he had the guard that was annoying the shit out of him, like trapped. And it was like, oh, they're making Loki so cool. Like, they're showing off how cool he is. And all this multiverse crazy stuff. It's just like, is that the Living Tribunal? Like, you know, oh man, it's so exciting. Also the setup of like, is this Loki from a further future? Like, I feel like, Andy, I hear what you're saying about like, it might like it kind of being like, you know where it ends, but I feel like he can stay at the TVA. Like, I feel like going forward, Loki can be an agent of,
time.
Yeah, yeah,
Time
yeah.
variant.
And like I don't necessarily think his story has to end. And I think that this serves so many purposes. Like one being set up for like much, much bigger multiverse shit. And another is set up for a Loki movie, like Nick's saying, where it could be an expansion of this. I am
agree.
so excited. Yeah, so excited about this show.
That's cool. That's a good way of looking at it, right? Like if they do this right, this is a possible way of bringing Loki back into the fold of the cinematic universe, which I think could be really, really cool, or at least kind of keeping that character alive for foreseeable future. But I love, shout out to Tara Strong, who did the voice for the little character, little like, which is super cool. That. Yeah, and she kind of lays it out where she's like, I love that one line where she says, if multiple timelines keep splintering off, it'll splinter into madness. And you're like, oh, multiverse of madness. And you're like, oh, okay, that's what that kind of looks at. And there was this big ass time war and all that stuff that was going on, which is like super cool. Like I don't need to see it. I just think that concept of like, just everything breaking apart and it just being like this like war on this like crazy universal like scale is just a really cool concept to play around with. And so that's why it kind of brings that level of importance that I think Andy's lacking. For me, I was like, oh, okay, there are some stakes here. Like if these guys don't keep watching this, things can just devolve into madness.
Oh, Tim, before you pop in here, it wasn't that this feels less important. It was more of that looking in the drawer, seeing a drawer full of Infinity Stones. Yeah, we use them as paperweights or whatever.
Hilarious.
I just
like hilarious.
Good line. It just kind of like, damn, like we watched 20 plus movies about that feel story, and it kind of feels like it just lessens it.
Yeah, and I can understand that.
I feel like such a big thing is like the next problem has to be bigger than the last problem, or else the heroes that fixed it last time can fix it easy, and another thing about the stones is like a thing in the comics is the stones, like every like universe in the multiverse has their own set of stones, and the stones only work in that universe. Outside of that universe, they are paperweights. So I thought that was fucking awesome when that happened.
But there's a lot of things that start getting interesting, even given the rules that this episode sets up. Because with that, Kev, it's like if that were true, is there a difference between a timeline and a multiverse, in a dimension, whatever? Because
not anymore, right?
In Endgame, they use the stones from a different timeline in their timeline. So that breaks that rule already. But talk about my thoughts on this, I freaking love this. And so far, I think that they've really been knocking it out of the park with these shows where each one feels so different, but so MCU. And I love immediately with this one, it is a time crime thriller. What the hell? Knocking it out of the park already with Owen Wilson and with Loki. Their characters are giving me the buddy cop dynamic that I didn't get from Falcon and Winter Soldier that I expected to get a lot more of. Like in this one episode, I think we got as much as we did the entire 6 episodes of that. And that's totally fine because that show worked for what it was doing to serve the purpose of the building the character of Sam Wilson as Cap. But with this, it does my favorite type of thing, which is establish rules for a universe I care about. And they've been doing that a lot from the beginning of the episode all the way through. And what I like to address what Andy was talking about is I think that they're doing a really good job of setting up that expectation that, oh yeah, this is a prequel. Or this is like insignificant because it is kind of like a side thing, but there's enough hints and stuff that maybe I'm just getting full on crazy conspiracy theory here. But they're with the whole timeline thing that they taught us with the Miss Minute or whatever, and them dropping the you'll descend into madness, and then at some point they explained what a Nexus point was. The Nexus stuff was in the commercials for in WandaVision.
That's right.
So it's like they definitely are. There's a lot of seeds being sown where it's not necessarily, oh, this is all set up for another movie like we felt about Age of Ultron. It's more like they're just establishing more and more rules of this universe that is living among TV shows and movies. And with that, they're talking about timeline, and they even showed that time isn't working where it's like there's the past and the future. Right. It's all happening at the same time because that's just how time works. And that is what's cool to me is that we don't necessarily know everything's okay because everything has to happen a certain way to get there. And talking about that war, they're talking about Secret Wars. Like that is one of the most iconic comic moments ever. where a bunch of all the multiverses essentially have to battle to become one timeline. And that is the rumor that is going to be the next huge Avengers event after Infinity War Endgame type stuff that we might not get for 10 years. But what's fucking cool is the way they set this up is they talked about it as if it was a war that happened in the past. But because time all happens at the same time, it could be the war that our heroes eventually do.
Yeah, and you start thinking, you're like, okay, if Loki's fighting himself, right? If there's, because they talk about the end of this, spoilers, the time variant potentially being him. Are we spoiling things? I guess we totally are.
Yeah.
That starts thinking like, is Loki the solution to this problem, or does he come back around and become the person that destroys the TVA and then allows that to happen, right? Because that's to Andy's point, though. I do see what you're talking about, Andy. Having a group of people that are that powerful that they can unite one timeline and like they get to pick and choose who, like, what you can do, brings in that concept of like, you know, fate versus you being like a free will, you know, which I thought was kind of cool because they kind of get into that a little bit where he's like, I make my own decisions. That's what the show's
going to be about.
Yeah, and he's like, do you make your own decisions? Yeah. And then, of course, he's going to break it and do all that stuff. So,
like, the idea that Thanos could be in the TVA, held captive, and is just completely powerless and can't do anything there, just kind of like breaks my brain in a way that I don't love. Like, I like the core canon, but not that this isn't canon, obviously, but I love the core story being this gigantic story of epic proportions, and Thanos is this all-powerful being that gets even more powerful. But the TVA, if you got a thing around your neck, it's like, no, you're nothing here. There's no powers here. It's like, oh, damn, I couldn't even conceive that before this series, before I just heard that line. And now that I have it, it's like, oh, that's kind of weird. It's kind of throwing me off. Now, granted, I think the episode's fantastic, and I'm stoked for the show. I don't want people to think that I don't like this show. I'm very excited for it. Again, everything that it's trying to do is going to be as creative as what WandaVision was doing, right? I love that it doesn't feel traditional MCU. I think it feels traditional now after we saw WandaVision. Like, this is kind of becoming their new creative way of...
It's very different, very creative, for sure.
This episode is brought to you by Stamps.com. Are you still going to the post office, still paying full price for postage? Well, thanks to Stamps.com, you don't have to anymore. Mail and ship anytime, anywhere, right from your computer. Send letters, ship packages, and pay less. A lot less. With discounted rates from USPS, UPS, and more. Stamps.com saves businesses thousands of hours and tons of money every year, including Kind of Funny. We have been really, really reliant on Stamps.com to get things sent out over the years, and we could not thank them more. Stamps.com brings the services of the U.S. Postal Service and UPS right to your computer. It's a must-have for any business, whether you're a small office sending invoices, a side hustle Etsy shop shipping out orders, or just navigating this hybrid work life. Stamps.com can handle it all with ease. No wonder over 1 million businesses choose Stamps.com for their mailing and shipping, again, just like Kind of Funny. With Stamps.com, you get discounts up to 40% off post office rates and up to 66% off UPS shipping rates. Stamps.com is a no-brainer, saving you time and money. It's no wonder nearly 1 million small businesses use it. Like I said, stop wasting time going to the post office and go to Stamps.com instead. There's no risk, and with the promo code Kind of Funny, you get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Kind of Funny. That's Stamps.com, promo code Kind of Funny. Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again. And next up, shout out to MeUndies. Summer is here, which might mean leaving the great indoors for a dip in the great outdoors, whether that's a pool, ocean, or fjord. MeUndies might be known for making the softest undies and bralettes in the world, but now they make swimwear too. That's awesome. I can't wait for this. You guys know I've been loving MeUndies for a very long time. Wearing a shirt right now, of course, the lounge pants, the undies themselves, and the socks. I love MeUndies. Can't wait to swim in some MeUndies this summer. You can check out MeUndies' first ever swimwear featuring bikinis, one pieces, and 2 different lengths of swim trunks. I'm going as short as I can. There are roughly 8 recycled plastic bottles in each pair of men's trunks, so that means they're eco-friendly, baby. Each one piece of bikini is made from recycled nylon derived from factory scraps and old fishing nets, which keeps our oceans looking beautiful. So there you go. Swim in an even cleaner ocean while you're looking fresh and clean. To get 50% off your first order and free shipping, go to MeUndies.com/morning. That's 15% off your first order by going to MeUndies.com/morning.
It's super cool. And obviously Captain Winter Soldier did, Captain Falcon, I always fucking say that, did something a little bit more traditional, akin to Winter Soldier type movie, Captain America type movie. But WandaVision and this one seem wholly unique in what they're trying to do. And yeah, I think it's cool as shit. It's, again, a little brain breaking. It's like that when they show you that gif of like, here's planet Earth, and then here's the moon, and here's Jupiter, and then you zoom out and you just keep zooming out and you keep zooming out, and you're like, fuck, we're so so insignificant among all this, and that's what the vibe I'm kind of getting from this show. But it's cool as shit. It's really creative.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you,
it nails that vibe, right?
Yeah.
One of the things I really, really like about it, though, is I thought from the trailers, I thought Owen Wilson was going to be his normal bumbling self, Owen Wilson. And this is a very different character he's ever played. Usually he's the Owen Wilson from Wes Anderson movies where he's like, wow, I didn't realize what was going on. And this one, he's like kind of beat down, but he's like the underdog agent that nobody, like, people respect, but they're like, you're not really getting the job done. And this is I like that he's like, you're out there, man. He's like, this is your last chance to prove yourself or whatever it is. And you're taking a risk with Loki and stuff like that. But I think he's actually a pretty a well-rounded, deep character, which I'm looking forward to seeing him go up. We've already seen him sort of start intellectually sparring with Loki, which is no small feat. And so I'm interested to see what they look like. But I was kind of like, I'm in, obviously, but I wasn't really, really in until they're walking down the hallway and he's like, I'm going to burn this place down. And I forget what line he has, but he's like, can you start with the part, like this department, or you can start with my office? Or, yeah, it was funny.
Oh, he also made an office joke. I'll take you to my office.
Yeah. You get the idea that Owen Wilson has tried to, or Mobius or whatever his name is, he's tried to kind of crack a case as big as this in the past.
Yeah. And failed.
And they're kind of like, dude, stop. Just keep resetting the person. That's what we do here. That's kind of what we do when we don't want to figure something out, just reset them. It's the easy way out. And you sort of get that vibe from the other detectives working with him that, dude, it's a useless cause. What are you doing? And I love the idea that this could be the one that's like, all right, fuck it. I'm putting everything on the line right now. I'm risking everything to try to figure out this mystery and try to team up with Loki, we've already gotten to the bottom of it, that no, he doesn't do stuff because he likes torturing humans. It's much deeper than that, which is really cool. And seeing Loki see everything go the way
he sees his death.
Yeah, sees his death. And you kind of, awesome. I definitely forgot when they show him in Ragnarok with Thor and those great back and forths. And it kind of took me a while to realize, like, oh, yeah, he didn't live this. This is just him seeing this for the first time. This isn't reminiscing on memories. This is seeing this shit for the first time. And all of that sequence I thought was really beautifully done and greatly acted by Hiddleston.
That's why I think the show has a lot of depth to it, because on top of just adding rules and adding really cool complexities to the MCU, I think that really dissecting the villain. Like, remember, this is the main villain of Avengers 1, right? Especially at moments after that. And with that, I think it's really cool to kind of really dive deep, and you see it in Tom Hiddleston, the way that he acts. Like, we praised Elizabeth Olsen so much because of how well she acted all the different versions of Wanda in WandaVision. We're already seeing that in this one episode of Loki, of him going from the boisterous Avengers bad guy, kind of really breaking down and like looking within himself, but then also being the god of mischief and like trying to like figure out his place in the world. I am very, very excited with what this show is doing for the general public of education on things like the fact that they're diving into what a Nexus event is, which is when something wrong in the timeline happens and it splits, and the whole variant idea, like getting us used to those words and the understanding that those are things. It's like, that is what's going to make Tobey Maguire make sense if he shows up in No Way Home or whatever. Like, and that is what's really, really cool to me from a bigger standpoint. But I love that at the end of the day, we're getting a lot of dope Loki stuff here. This 2012 Loki is going to mean something different than the Loki that died in Infinity War did to us. But I'm already super, super invested in it. And I like what they're doing, because I love that this is a mystery show. But unlike WandaVision, where it's like, there's no way for us to have any idea of what's going on, they're giving us a lot of answers. Like the fact that they straight up told us that it's a Loki variant that they're hunting, and like pointing at the picture and it's Loki with the horns and shit. It's like, that's super, super cool, where now it's not so much a mystery of like, who did it? The mystery is like, what's going on with that Loki? What's about that?
Why is he doing this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think That's really cool. Andy?
Quick question, or just a quick thing I want to point out. The DB Cooper scene kind of left a little to be desired for me.
I thought it was hilarious.
I mean, we knew it was going to happen.
It was a dare or a bet. He lost,
and that's cool. And that's
also
great.
Owen Wilson just being like bringing it up to like Brad, like this is awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Hinting towards it. Wow, I'm getting kind of funny notifications on this stream. Anyway, hinting towards it. Obviously, before the series even started, we saw that he's gonna be DB Cooper. That's like a funny little nod. And I thought that was going to be one of many instances where he
has
in
to
the
go
past,
back and fix the.
And it's possible. It's possible that he does.
I bet we get more.
It's definitely possible. But the idea that it was just kind of an Easter egg, like, oh, check this out. It felt kind of like, I don't know. We're just showing you a scene because it's a funny scene and maybe it doesn't have a whole lot of significance to the overall timeline, but I thought it was going to play a much bigger role aside from them just watching highlights of his past. Like it felt kind of weird and out of place to me when they showed that.
I feel like that's exactly what it was meant for. It was meant to be put in the trailer and to get the ball rolling and them throwing it out here. We could see it again and that would be great. But honestly, like I wouldn't be shocked if that's all we get of that scene. And that was just to throw people off on what's happening with the show.
I do.
One quick note that I want to make. I think that with the Infinity Stones from Endgame, that's not necessarily breaking it because those are the same Infinity Stones. Like that's the same timeline. Because of the bracelets, they grab the ones from their own timeline, and instead of going in the new branch, they can jump directly to their own timeline.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. Some sort of line though, where she's like, "You're gonna you take this out, it's gonna branch off."
Yeah, so it made a branch, but that branch is the one that Loki is currently. Well, not Loki.
See, that Kev, hear me out for a sec. That's the problem. Not problem, but that's where we're at right now. Is and I think the show understands this clearly, and they're gonna try to explain it better. But what is the difference between a timeline and what a multiverse is? Yeah. Because that they need to start giving the rules there. Because even already the one inconsistency that is in this is I love that they tried to solve the thing of the Avengers. It's what about them? It's that was supposed to happen. That was part of the thing. But what doesn't make sense about that though is the only way that they succeeded was this Loki taking the Infinity Stone and going away so that they would then go to the 70s to get it from the base. So it's why is Loki in trouble and not them? But I don't know if that's an oversight or if they'll figure it out.
They put the stones back. Loki has yet to put his stone back. So Loki could just go to the point where he jumped, and I bet you that's how the season ends, and he puts the stone back, right? Because that's the difference. Everyone so far, remember at the end of Endgame, Captain America goes back and puts all the stones where they belong. What is weird is that he stays in a different timeline, but that doesn't I mean, I guess that's the way his journey was supposed to end.
Yeah, I was looking at a continuation of his, but I don't know. Yeah. It's cool either way. I'm looking forward to the next one. It's got me hyped, and I like to Andy's earlier point of Owen Wilson being the one character that everyone's dude, just do the job. Stop trying to do something extra. I love that last scene where the TVA team shows up and they're like, it smells like oil. They just probably go to their standard shtick, or someone probably made a time machine. Just reset it. Let's go. And that complacency is their death. Yeah. They don't investigate. And that's why I think that's super cool. You're like, oh, okay, we need Owen Wilson in this. We need a character who's you're not seeing the bigger picture, everyone. We got to go at this a little differently. Well,
I kind of got the feeling that their complacency was out of fear, where they're like, something's wrong. Let's just get out of here.
That's not what I got. They were he was just I don't know. It's probably, I thought they were this. We do this every day. And our job is super easy. Put the canister down, go back into the thing, go back through the doorway. That's it. It just resets itself. Also, and then they got burned alive.
It's clear that whoever this other variant Loki is, he's collecting those canisters to do something because they've mentioned it multiple times. Yeah. So. Yeah.
The timeline reset bomb that's such a fucking cool concept. But I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about it next week and the weeks to come when we continue doing our Loki reactions right here on youtube.com/kindafunny. Greg Miller will join us for the ones that he can. He's in E3 right now doing hosting stuff because that's really cool. But till next time, I love you guys. Bye.